Husky Game Prep is brought to you by Gate City Bank, proud supporter of your Huskies. Stop by and ask us about our low interest rates to finally buy that new snowmobile or ice house you've been waiting for. Contact any of our 43 locations across North Dakota and central Minnesota, and of course around the St. Cloud area. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Hey Huskies fans, welcome into another episode of Huskies Game Prep, brought to you by Gate City Bank. Sam Getzinger here with you, and we welcome back a very special guest from therinklive.com, Mick Hatton. Mick, how you doing after this very fun weekend?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Sam?
I'm doing pretty good. I lost my voice a little bit with all the cheering going on, but I'm glad I got it back. So I'm able to talk about some St. Cloud State hockey with you and NCHC hockey. So it should be a lot of fun. Let's touch on this past weekend. St. Cloud State comes away with a split against the University of Minnesota Duluth. It was a 4v6 matchup in the national polls, and Huskies improved to 7-4. It was a Saturday loss in overtime, 4-3 against the Bulldogs. Then on Sunday they came back with a very impressive 3-1 win. So Mick, I want to get your overall takeaways from this past weekend for both teams.
Well, I think two different games. UMD, I thought, I thought UMD played well, throughout the weekend. On the first game, so I'm used to saying Friday, but it was a Saturday game. On Saturday's game, they came out with just, let's be honest. I mean, they came out with more hop in their step out of the gate. They got a quick lead on St. Cloud State. You're worried that if they got down 2-0, I mean, 2-0 against UMD is like a 6-0 deficit to overcome against other teams. So, but they were able to keep it close. Their power play was really effective. I mean, that was helpful. A little bit of a controversial call, I guess, on the major. I actually thought it was a good call. I guess I'm in the minority there, but the puck was a long ways away from where the contact was made, and the player coming on the ice has the responsibility to not run into a player that's skating and not looking where he's going, because he doesn't anticipate that there's going to be anybody there. So I actually thought that was a good call. But anyway, so they actually had that 3-2 lead, but they could not. The third period, I didn't think they played particularly well. I think the shots kind of showed that. I mean, it was 12-4, I think, on the shots in the third. They got UMD got the game tying goal on a power play, and then they just possessed the puck in overtime. So, that's kind of, if you don't have the puck in overtime, and that's what happens a lot of times. They lost 2 faceoffs and really didn't. I mean, they had the puck for about 3 seconds, I think, in that overtime, and it cost them. Brett Larson not happy with flat out calling the team soft. With how they approached to the game from a 5-on-5 standpoint on Saturday. Sunday, they were a much different team. I thought they played solid from beginning to end in that game. David Rennick, I thought, had a really strong game. Maybe. You look at either that game or the game against Denver, which was 2 games ago, as maybe his strongest games of the season. And then they got, I really liked them in the third period. It was a tie game. It was a 1-1 game, but they got a couple opportunities and they took advantage of them late in the game. The first one, couple of rushes actually that led to that victory. So it was a really good win for them, and a big one. They've established that they can play with the big teams, or the teams that everybody went into the season thinking we're going to be the big teams in this conference, and they've beaten each one of them. So I think that's a big thing mentally.
And Mick, you touched on it a little bit. Head coach Brett Larson was not happy with the 5-on-5 play, especially on Saturday's game. But their play with the man advantage was very impressive, pumping a couple of power play goals, and they also did on Sunday as well. And if you look back into the power play just wasn't one of their strongest links, but it seems like it's starting to click a little bit more, would you say?
Yeah, I think it's I just had this in a column. I think it's the last 4 games, all of a sudden, they're 7 for 18 on the power play. And so yeah, they moved, they moved a couple people around on their top power play unit, and I think some of it too is, Vidi Miettinen being a freshman, and he's clearly a key on their power play. He's got 4 power play goals already, and I think he's kind of finding where he's supposed to be on the power play, where they like him to be. The other guys that are on that power play unit with them are figuring out where he likes the puck, where he likes to get it. So I think there's some of that where some of that's gotten worked out. He was the last guy into camp, so I think you're starting to see him really kind of find his way as the season continues on. And obviously, I mean, he's a big time weapon for St. Cloud State.
He most definitely is, and he was able to pick up a handful of points to his name over the weekend, which is very impressive to see, and a big reason why St. Cloud State was able to get a couple of points in NCHC play as well. I want to look ahead into this upcoming weekend. They're taking on Duluth again, but they're going to take them at their barn at AMSOIL Arena. What do both teams need to do to try to get some wins this weekend?
Well, I think that, the big thing for St. Cloud State, let's just look at game 1 out of this. When you think of UMD playing at home, and we saw this, in the game against UMD here on Saturday, you have to match their energy coming out of the gate, or they can bury you early. I mean, because their tendency is to come out really strong and come at you really hard. They're a team that likes to play physical. They like to get to the front of the net and be real physical there. On the smaller sheet of ice, that's even easier for them to do. So St. Cloud State's going to have to also, try to, I don't want to say they want to go, toe to toe and try to outslug them, but what they do need to do is they need to find a way to match that or get around some of their physical play, because that's not St. Cloud State's strength, and again, with playing going back to the NHL, sized rink, that's always a big thing for St. Cloud State. How are they going to handle that, the more contact that they're going to see? Now, they handled it great, I thought, in the pod down in Omaha, but here, now we've had a weekend on the big rink. How do they make that adjustment? For UMD, for them coming out, I mean, they need to take better advantage of some of their, opportunities that they had. St. Cloud State, did a pretty good job the second night on killing their penalties against UMD, but UMD's got a very potent power play. So I mean, they need to get a little bit more. If UMD wants, if they're looking for a sweep or whatever, they're going to need to dominate from a special team standpoint, I think, and kind of make St. Cloud State play catch up. Whoever is chasing, in this series this weekend is going to be fighting an uphill battle.
Nick, it's always a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you for joining us here on Huskies Game Prep. St. Cloud State takes on the University of Minnesota Duluth again for the second time in a row. They're coming up this weekend. That's going to be taking place at AMSOIL Arena. You can catch those games on nchc.tv. Nick, thank you so much. Look forward to hearing from you again, and stay safe, my friend.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on again, Sam. Appreciate it. You take care.
Yeah, you too. Coming up next on Huskies Game Prep, Matt Reimer, the head coach of the SCSU men's basketball team.
Huskies fans, reminder that Huskies Game Prep is brought to you by Gate City Bank, proud supporter of SCSU Athletics. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hello and welcome back into Huskies Game Prep. Sam Getzinger here with you, brought to you by Gate City Bank. We welcome for the first time on the show, we're going to talk about some basketball. Here's head coach of the SCSU men's basketball team, Matt Reimer. Coach, I'm sure you're pretty happy to have a weekend of competition underneath your belt this year.
Yeah, I'm so happy for our guys. They've sacrificed so much and done such a good job of making sure that they gave themselves this opportunity. So it was great to see them rewarded and get out on the court, and really happy that they got that opportunity.
And I was speaking with the head coach of the newly acquired SCSU men's soccer team, Sean Holmes, a couple of months ago, and he explained with building a new team, a lot of new players coming together, that this time off a little bit was kind of nice because it gives them time to build some chemistry. Did you feel like this delayed start to the season helped your team a little bit? A lot of new players coming together, build some chemistry going into this first week last weekend?
Probably, actually, I'd feel the opposite, to be honest with you. I wish we could have been together more earlier. And I think, especially with as many new guys as we had and as young as we are, we could have used the time together to do some, off the court team building stuff. But we just didn't have those opportunities because you're trying to make sure that you're keeping kids, isolated and quarantined and stuff so that they're staying safe. And so we kind of limited our team activities to just on the court type stuff. I think we could have used some more time there if it would have worked, but it is what it is. It's the same for everybody. We just happen to have a really young team this year that has to deal with it. And, at the end of the day, we'll figure it out and we'll get to where we need to be.
Well, let's talk about this past weekend just for a little bit. It was a pair of high-scoring losses against the University of Upper Iowa. Saturday saw a 117-84 loss, and Sunday it was a 110-106 loss in overtime. What are just some of your takeaways you saw from your team against the Peacocks?
Yeah, Saturday we were just really, I think we were so amped to play and so excited to play that we kind of lost our minds. From the mental standpoint, we made so many mental errors and stuff that we don't do in practice that they've done a good job of not doing those things. And all of a sudden we get in the game and we just forget our assignments. We forget the scouting report. We forget what our roles are. And consequently, we end up with 20 turnovers that lead to 24 points. And Upper's really, really good. They've got 3 all-conference guards that have been there for a couple of years. They've played together, I knew going into it that this wasn't a great matchup for us in terms of being successful, in terms of wins and losses right away. But I did know that they were going to expose us, and they did. They exposed our deficiencies and the stuff that we can't work out in scrimmages ahead of time. We got exposed. And with that all being said, I thought Sunday we came back and showed a lot of fight and grit. Again, particularly not playing a particularly good first half. We took a lot of bad shots, which are the same as turnovers. And in the second half, when we limited our bad shots and limited their transition opportunities, we defended pretty well then. We still have a long way to go and stuff, but I was really pleased that we never quit. Even when we got down a couple times double digits, the guys kept battling and actually gave ourselves a really good look at the buzzer to win it, and just unfortunately didn't fall for us. And so really proud of the guys, and we made a lot of progress from Saturday to Sunday. Now, can we continue that type of progress? That's what remains to be seen.
And looking back on that weekend again, who are some players from your team that you felt really went over expectations for you?
Well, I think I'd start with Danny Giesler off the bench. Daniel's a walk-on for us and has really matured the last 2 years, redshirted his first year and took advantage last year. This past year as a redshirt freshman, getting bigger and stronger. And so I was really happy with his performance off the bench. He showed some toughness and some physicality that we need. I also thought that one of our newcomers, Ryan Bagley, junior college point guard, really played well both nights. And probably haven't seen a lot of that from him in practice, partly because he's missed more practice than anybody because of illness and COVID issues. And so he's finally getting his legs under him and finally getting into shape. And he played really, really well when he had those opportunities. I thought on Sunday in the second half, Josh Tomasi, our big kid, really showed some flashes of what he can be and made some good steps forward. I thought Ilya was good both nights. Caleb and Anthony had up and down weekends. At times they were good, times they really struggled. And we need them to be a little bit more consistent. So at different times, guys produced, but we've got a long way to go.
And then, so that weekend's in the past, the pair of losses to Upper Iowa. Coming up this weekend, you take on the University of UMary on the road once again. What's the preparation process like this week leading into those pair of games?
Well, again, it's going to be a huge learning experience for us because we're playing a completely different team. Upper Iowa wanted the game in the hundreds. We wanted to keep it in the 80s, and we weren't successful. Now Mary is going to want the game in the 60s, and we're going to want it in the 80s. So It'll be a little bit different where we're going to have to try to speed them up where we just got done trying to slow somebody down. And so that would be a big challenge for our guys. Mary plays extremely hard. I think I'm constantly impressed with how hard their kids play. They're blue collar kids that just are going to fight you every step of the way. And again, for our young guys, I don't think they quite understand what they're up against, because everybody thinks, well, Mary, their record isn't great or hasn't been great the last couple of years, but they've got a veteran team this year, and they lost 2 really close games to Sioux Falls, who's picked second in the South and easily could have won both those games. So they're a very dangerous team for us, and we have got to understand the difference between playing a team that's up and down like Upper and now a team against like Mary who wants to control tempo. We want to make sure we're the team that's dictating tempo and force them to play a little faster than they want. And so that'll be a big challenge for us.
And Coach Reimer, it's a pleasure to hear from you. Hopefully we can get you on the show a couple more times throughout the season. Best of luck this weekend against Mary, and stay safe and have a good week of practice.
Anytime, Sammy. Appreciate the opportunity and look forward to being on with you again. Take care.
Thanks, Coach. And thank you for joining us on Huskies Game Prep. We'll be back again next week.